We are live.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. Welcome back. We were off last week, or I was at least, because I was out of commission. So there's that. But how was your week off, Heather?
It was not bad at all.
Yeah.
I had some crazy things happening in my life. Started my new job this week, so it's been pretty interesting. So
Packing up, moving a house, I hear.
yeah, sold a house and not going to have two households anymore, which is going to be great.
Yeah.
For all that risk management that we need to do for our retirement. And so things are moving really fast, but I guess I wouldn't really know what to do with my life, Matt, if it wasn't Mach 3 with my hair on fire. So
you'd probably get bored and fall asleep. So I know I'm that way as well. So anyone who is new, or even if you are returning, this is How to CPCU. We are a production of volunteers from the CPCU Society. We are giving you an overview of what the society is, how it's organized, tips and tricks on how to get involved, navigate it, the value that it brings to you in your professional development, the whole 9 yards. As usual, I have to remind you, please like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, retweet, put it out there. Anyone who could use this information, whether it's current CPCUs, new CPCUs, candidate members, people in the insurance industry who would be helped by this information, definitely share that out there and help it get out to them. And as a reminder, we always take comments and questions live. So if you have any comments or questions for our guests or Heather or I, we are more than happy to entertain those and answer them for you. So without further ado, we have two very special guests. This week, we are talking about the Leadership Council. What comes to mind, Heather, when I say Leadership Council?
Oh, I don't know, like creme de la creme, like the coolest people ever in the CPCU Society.
They all drink with their pinkies in the air.
It is, I would say what comes to mind is a group of people who are highly dedicated to the success of the CPCU Society, and they have risen to the challenge of leading a group of people that are a bunch of volunteers, basically. So just like chapter leaders, just like chapter governors, just like IG volunteers, but they have stepped into that executive leadership. They're in the C-suite.
Yes, most definitely. They are as crazy and dedicated, or dedicated and crazy as most of us are. They are the most dedicated of the gaggle of us that are out there running around. So to represent the Leadership Council, we have our current society president, Sharon Koches, with us, and we also have Don George, who is Don. Are you joining us from New York, or are you elsewhere right now?
I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, you are in New Jersey. I could have invited you over. We could have been 6 feet apart and co-hosted at the same time. Fantastic.
Next time.
Yes, yeah. Well, it is actually spring in New Jersey and New York, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm not a huge winter fan. Are you welcoming the spring there, Don?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm switching from Manhattans to gin and tonics.
Yeah. Tis the season. And Sharon, how's things going? You coming to us from the Carolinas?
I am from Wilmington, North Carolina. It's a little bit overcast today, so we've had some crazy weather as well.
Yeah. And as a, you'll always be a Jersey girl, but as a former Jersey girl, I'm sure you're not envying the weather that we've had in New Jersey over the last handful of months.
No, I'm very happy for you to keep the snow, cold weather, and the wind up there. Thank you. I've had many years of it.
Yes, thank you. And then Heather gets the weather from Sybil. It's like 70 degrees one day, it's negative 30 degrees the next. She needs an old priest and a young priest is basically what she needs. Just to do one of these, right? Sorry, we don't get religious on this program, anyone who's wondering. But yes, Mike Castellani said, very nice to have us back. Thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate it. And again, a reminder, anyone who's watching live, we do take comments and questions. So more than happy to entertain those from you. But so that being said, Heather kind of gave us an idea of, the cool kids club that is the Leadership Council. The first thing I'll kick it to you, Sharon. What would you say, like, what's the elevator pitch, or in a nutshell to you, what is the Leadership Council for the society?
So the Leadership Council provides the strategic direction. Our goal is really the strategy of the overall organization, and to focus on the volunteers, the members, and the member benefits. Because overall, the CPCU society is about making the insurance industry succeed.
Awesome. What would you say, Don? What is it to you?
It's a lot of that. It's strategies and looking at the mission statement and what we can do to better direct the society to where we want to go.
Okay, awesome. How often do you guys meet? Is it monthly?
So we meet every, we have several meetings. So you want to talk about crazy, we do resemble that remark, right? Yeah. And so the Leadership Council, the full Leadership Council meets every other month, but we also have an executive committee that meets on those off months. So from the executive committee, we have meetings every month. And then, of course, beyond that, all of our Leadership Council members are liaisons to committees and interest groups, and then also visiting with chapters. And so overall, they keep us a little busy. What do you think, Don?
No, you're right. And it's not just interacting with members, which is very important, but it's reading all the materials that the committees and the IGs and the chapters put out. So you're on what the cusp of what members are thinking, because that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
And
Go
we're
ahead,
trying
Heather.
to focus on personal reach out. I mean, that's something that for me is very important, to make sure that everyone knows who the council members are and really reach out personally. I want to hear from, and I know all the Leadership Council members want to hear from our members. What are we doing right? What do we need to do differently? It's very important because we are in a transition year.
And we need good ideas, and I don't have all the good ideas. So please send them in.
So did you hear that, guys? Send all your ideas to Don George. No, I was just going to say, Sharon, I really appreciated how interactive and engaged you have been as a president within like the candidate communities that are on the Facebook groups and within Interact as well. No one really understands the value of that personal touch. And it is so important, especially when you're looking to inspire people to get through a journey for a designation that is as hard as a master's degree to finish, and also help them to realize that it's not just that piece of paper on their wall, that there are so many other benefits to being part of the society, and that's being reflected in a way. And, who knows, was it, all the fact that we were all sitting behind computers all the time for the past year, that it felt like that there was just a more open space for that. But I know that, being someone who's pretty much a social media geek, it has been, completely refreshing to see that out there, because it's so encouraging to that next gen of CPCUs that's, working through the process and trying to make it through the journey.
Thanks, Heather. I appreciate that. One of the things I've also tried to do, I have myself out there as a mentor, as well as I've spoken to some of the university students that want to get together and chat, or even new designees. I'm trying to be as open as possible, because this is the future of our industry, and that really is critical. This is the future of the society as well. And, as we move forward into the future, we've got to adapt. And I think that our members and our staff, the institutes, and the Leadership Council has really been done a great job adapting to the changes we've had to make in 2020. Yet, I still hear from some of the candidates they haven't had some of that personal touch. And I want to make sure that that's happening. And I know the chapters have been doing a great job with that, and the chapters are so critical. But, 2020 was a unique year. So we need to take that and take our lessons and move forward from there.
Mm. What are your thoughts, Don, on how that, to Sharon's point, like 2020 has been or it was just a gigantic kind of monkey wrench in the machine, so to speak, right? So how was that from your end and kind of from your perspective, and how the Leadership Council was kind of able to adjust or adapt on the fly?
Well, I think it's just like anything you did with your company, is that you adopted to Zoom calls or Teams calls or whatever. And it's just having the discipline to have the reach out, that you're not just going to, because you're not going to meet in the meetings or at the convention or the leadership summit, you got to make those calls and set up and be more disciplined so that you can be more engaged with more people.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to your point, Heather, the visibility of a number of the people on the Leadership Council. Now, this is like a chicken and egg thing. Maybe I could ask you this, the two of you. Like, I don't know if it's one or the other, or if it's both. Because a number of the people that are new on the Leadership Council, or at least they're recent, I can remember them being more front and center, just kind of in general, before they even got onto the Leadership Council. So I think that helps, but I think there's also probably some other dynamic as to, people on the Leadership Council, members on the Leadership Council that are doing more of these things like you two are doing right now. Did you have to kind of lead the horse to water? Was there a little kind of push to try and get them to be a little bit more front and center and kind of a little bit more, constantly in the public view?
I'll let Don start this one.
Well, like I said, you have to be disciplined, but there's so many different platforms. I know with the international folks, India communicates on WhatsApp. They don't really have the Zoom meetings. Whereas here we have this one. You could have Teams, you could have the blogs, and it's just trying to learn all the different things so you can really communicate.
And I'm going to say, in addition to that, one of the things, as you probably know, is that especially the executive committee, but many members of the Leadership Council normally go out and personally visit chapters and personally attend I-Days. And we have not been able to do that since, the last date that I traveled was March 13th of 2020. And that was to get home from the reinsurance symposium, right?
Yep.
And so, that for us, Tom Woods last year, poor Tom, he really couldn't go anywhere. Our hope is that we will be able to travel later this year, but it really puts a kink in what we feel we can accomplish. And it is that personal touch, and it is being out there visible at I-Days and chapter meetings and supporting the chapters, and even doing connection visits with our carrier support. And so that kind of put that kink in the armor. The nice thing about what we've been able to do, though, is we can attend a lot more virtual meetings. We're not traveling. We're not going constantly. Well, I can't say that because with all the requests and all, and not traveling, we're doing a lot more. But we don't have that travel where you're out of sync for a while. So that's had its pros and cons. I'm going to tell you personally, I miss that personal interaction. I miss meeting our members in person. And that's why it's so important for me to try and keep out and reach out personally.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's really important. I think and to your point, that is a gigantic hurdle to get over when you're used to having, a committee or a group of people that, beginning of the year, they are kind of blanketing, a very large organization in terms of going out into the field with a bunch of the different chapters that are throughout the country and international.
Right.
And then not being able to do that, that is a huge, just an audible that has to be called midstream there to try and still maintain that kind of connectivity and hopefully that, dissemination of like, what you said, the leadership council kind of like sets the tone or the vision, so to speak, and then being able to disseminate that to the other chapters is really important. And so being able to shift the mechanism by which that happens, I think was probably a very crucial component to 2020. We do have a couple of like comments / questions from the audience, and they're kind of similar, so I'm going to take them both in tandem here. One is from Vicus. Can you explain what the Leadership Council, like what being a Leadership Council member is about? And I think a good tandem with that would be Mary Calmer asking, what does it take to be a successful Leadership Council member? And then I guess she also wants to know, is it like Princeton and Harvard? Do you turn away like 90% of the applicants, or is it kind of like an open call?
Well, okay. So there are several components to this. First of all, there are 16 members to the Leadership Council, and there are 10 at-large members who have 3-year terms. Then we have one member that is appointed by the president. Now, the 10 at-large members must be CPCU's society members in good standing. The one appointment by the president does not have to be a CPCU because we're looking for vision, right? We're looking for ideas. So, and that is a 1-year appointment. Then you have your 4 officers, your immediate past president chair, your president chair, your president-elect, and your secretary treasurer, and then, of course, the society executive director. Now, what happens is like this for 2022, we have 4 people rolling off. They've fulfilled their 3-year terms. So as the Leadership Council is out and about and talking to people and meeting people, we're paying attention to leadership qualities, right? And what areas of the Leadership Council we have gaps. And so we're looking to fill the gaps. And we've actually formalized that more this year because all of the Leadership Council took assessments this year. We've analyzed our Leadership Council to make sure we're accomplishing our goals. So, at this point, we have 4 open positions. Now, there are steps involved. You can either be identified by one of the Leadership Council members or even a governor or a chapter leader to say, I think you would be a great fit for Leadership Council. May I put your name in? Could you please fill out an application? You fill out an application. There's a number of different questions. You need recommendations as well. And then that goes to the nominating committee. Okay. And the nominating committee will make the decision who they're interviewing. And I believe they interview all, but don't quote me on that. I'm not absolutely positive. But then you go in for an interview. And then once they finish their interviews, they will bring to the Leadership Council their recommendations for Leadership Council. Okay. So did I miss any steps, Don? I think I got them.
Good. Yep.
Okay. And so when you say how many roughly get turned away, it depends on how many people we have for the positions and what those gaps are that we need to fill. So that's a difficult decision. That's a difficult question to answer. We might have 1 position open and 6 candidates. We can only pick 1. If we have a year where we have 4 candidates, and 2 of the candidates aren't really qualified, right? They either, for various reasons, then we have to look at that. And Mike Cassellini piped in, one of our past presidents and chairs, thank you, Mike, that they do interview all Leadership Council candidates. So it really depends on what our openings are.
Yep.
And I think what makes a good LC member is someone who has a good vision of what the society is now, as well as has a a plan or ideas on how to make it better, as well as, like Sharon said, diversity of thought, so that they can say, I bring this to the group as an advantage.
Right.
So did they put the screws to you, Don? Did you feel like you were being interviewed by the FBI?
To be honest, I went back to my hotel room after the interview and says, well, I'll try for something else.
Well, Don, you weren't alone. I did the same thing. You go in and the first thing I did, because you're sitting at a table, we were, of course we were doing it in person at the time. We were sitting at a table, and everybody, the nominating committee's around the table, and they're all very serious looking when you walk in. And at the end of the table, they pulled a chair out, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm in the hot seat now, because that's what it felt like. But their goal is really to find the people that are going to help move the organization forward.
Awesome.
And Matt, I'll just speak up as somebody who has interviewed for Leadership Council, was not selected at the time I was interviewed, but I cannot tell you how great that experience was for me in making me realize what I needed to do if I want to land there eventually. Like, I had 3 of the nominating committee people want to meet with me after the interview, and they're like, here, let me give you some feedback about some things that we're looking for right now. And of course, I think I was interviewing whenever there wasn't really a lot of spots available and everything. But I threw my name in the ring just to see what would happen. And interview experience is always a good thing for professional development, even if it's a different type of interview. But I would highly suggest to anyone, go through that process, even just for the development of seeing what it is that you need to develop yourself further with in order to land a spot on Leadership Council.
And I'll share. Oh, sorry, Heather.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the nominating committee is great. The chair is excellent about coming to each candidate who didn't get in to say, here's some of the recommendations we have for you to work on. And please come back and interview again, because, the goal is, right, it's all about development. And Heather, you said it, we want to work with people and help them develop, because again, it's the future. And Gabby noted, they're always looking for candidates to interview. And so, I really feel like it's a great experience for everyone.
I would have to say I haven't had the pleasure of going through the interview process, but I can just assume that it also makes for better leaders in the society, even if you're not picked to be on the Leadership Council, because you're getting immediate feedback from people that are seasoned and senior members of the society. And they're, looking for certain qualities, certain experience and things like that. And when you take that back to your chapter, your interest group, or your committee that you're involved in, that's going to be a huge boon to them, because if you are serious about wanting to go through round 2 of, the leadership interview process, but also to get on the actual LC, you're going to be really actively looking to, fulfill those requirements and leave the place better than you found it, so to speak. Am I on the right course there, Don?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, diversity of opinion, and you had mentioned about you want people with a lot of experience. Not necessarily. I think it's all about what you bring to the group, and even if you haven't been a member for 100 years like me, you can still add something. So, we take all comers in the interview, and then show us what you have. And I think, if there's, like Sharon said, if there are gaps, we definitely will go forward.
And Mike kind of jumped the gun on me about, if you don't feel you're ready for leadership council, or you don't make it onto leadership council your first try, because not everyone does. There are other roles like chapter governors or interest group governors. What we like to see is we like to see that those candidates have been involved, have been volunteering. They know what the society is about, right? Being part of the interest groups, being an active part of their chapter, because they can bring all of that experience into the leadership council role.
Now, I have a question for you, Heather. And if you do not feel comfortable sharing this, you do not have to. But maybe even just kind of in general terms, what was some of the feedback that you got in terms of, what they said they wanted you to work on or look at or anything like that?
Obviously, they were incredibly encouraging to me, telling me everything that I did well with. And, we love the fact that you were innovative and you are coming up with new ideas about how to promote the society and everything. But some of the direct feedback that I got was, you need just a little bit more like board style experience. And so I was like, hey, that's exactly what I have to go get. And, for me personally, I had like interest group committee member involvement. I had kind of taken a social media chair role in the claims interest group and had been like a director at large with a small chapter but I had moved around a bit. So I hadn't had an opportunity to kind of plant myself with the chapter. Well, I've had that opportunity now, and I'm rolling through the ranks of the executive board with my local chapter right now. And so I'm looking for, what year am I looking to go back? Do I want to move on and hit a chapter governor or interest group governor role before I go? Or do I apply again after I finished up my year as chapter president? Who knows? But it's all, and then also, looking for other type of volunteer board service opportunities that I could get involved in too. And those found their way to me a lot of times, just because people are like, hey, I know you're looking for some board service opportunities, and they just got fed to me because they had heard that I had put in for leadership council and everything. And they were excited about that, but they were like, yeah, you probably need to get this volunteer board experience so that you can come in more prepared and have the chutzpah, I guess you could say, for what the leadership council is looking for.
Yeah. Sounds like you were an easy target on that one, though, because you knew it was coming. All right, so let's talk kind of like specific or logistics here. You had mentioned something to us before we went live, Sharon. You have a little bit of an announcement that you can share, but the Leadership Council has a hand in basically guiding the senior leadership, so not just the volunteer leadership of the society, but also there are some folks that work every single day as their job, right, that are kind of heading up the society. The Leadership Council has a little bit of input there, correct?
Yes, we do. So, we are the strategic arm, and the staff of the society is really the operational function of the society. So we have the executive director role, which, we lost our executive director back in, I believe it was November, and we've had a search for that. I will say to you that I can give a half announcement and say that we have hired the executive director, but we are unable to announce that person only because
it's not Mike Caselny, is it?
It is not
I know
Mike Caselny. Sorry,
Mike just graduated with a degree, I think.
But as we get closer, I expect to be able to have an announcement. I believe we'll be able to send it out sometime by the end of next week. I believe that's our timing, when that person has handled all of their business that they need to take care of to close out where they are. But we will have a new executive director starting mid-April. And so we're excited about that. But we have additional staff. So many of you have met Kim Keen, Nicole. I always mix her last name backwards, right? and Jesse Gaudio have really been acting as the folks that we are working with at the society, the main folks. We have Jen.
Mike K does not consent. He said no. Sorry, continue.
That's okay. We have other staff like Jen Polachek, Rosemary Bozeman, and I apologize because I'll probably forget some. We have a few new staff as well, but like Jen works primarily with the chapter. Rosemary is one of the contacts if you want someone to speak at chapter meetings or I days. And again, we have a number. Alana handles a lot of the web area. Maureen Gillespie handles the emerging leaders and the student action. So every one of our committees actually has a staff liaison as well. And awesome. They're working with the members and the volunteers. They're answering questions. They're actually helping to facilitate the direction that they're getting from Leadership Council. So, but we also we have a board that we report to, and that is our board, which is 3 folks in the C-suite at the institutes. And then they report to the board of directors of the institutes. Awesome.
And how has that process been, Don, in terms of, your interaction with the society staff? I'd imagine that's kind of a unique situation, right? Volunteer leaders and then paid society staff. What does that kind of look like? I know you're not necessarily looking over their shoulder, so to speak, right?
Well, there's only a few of them, so they're really, really busy. And you really have to think about, you want to do all these things to increase membership, but you have to prioritize. And you look at them and say, well, this is important, put this on the back burner. So you got to consider though that there's only so many of them, whereas there's 12 of us or whatever, but we're only volunteers, so we can't do it either. So
yeah, I would imagine it's really easy to railroad those people with 12 different ideas, or probably even more than 12 different ideas, but just tons of, I'll use air quotes, feedback going in their direction. I would imagine it's not an enviable position to be where they're sitting, for sure. What are your thoughts, Heather?
No, I was just going to say, the society paid staff, and every time that I have had an interaction with them, just knowing and understanding the challenges that they have gone through themselves this past year, and how they've really kind of overcame those and adapted and evolved and really tried to keep the focus where it was important. They didn't try to do absolutely everything because they would have train wrecked, that. They tried to do a few things really well. Yep. And that's the philosophy that you have to take whenever you have a leaner group of people that are trying to run something. So appreciative of what they've done. But I kind of like to know just how do your interactions really go with that society staff? And are they part of your leadership council meetings at any point? Is there, discussions that you have on a regular basis with them about kind of the information that's coming in from various groups to them?
So there's a handful of things. So one, I want to give kudos to the staff because they, I will tell you, it's been a very lean staff. They have done a phenomenal job of taking care of the priorities and taking care of the members while we're in the process of doing a big membership research project. And so they've been very focused on that for the future of the association. And so I do want to say thank you to them because they've been working very hard on that. So we get regular updates from them, especially between our meetings. So we'll get minutes, we'll get reports from them, depending on what's happening. Now, all of that goes to the Leadership Council members. I will also share with you that I have a weekly meeting. So in addition to the monthly EC, the every other month EC, the every other month LC meetings. I have a weekly meeting right now, normally with the executive director, but right now it's with Kim and Jesse, who are fulfilling that role until the new person comes in. And we normally have our agendas depending on what's in the process. We're preparing for the other meetings, making sure the reports are done. Our committee liaisons, all of our leadership council members are providing reports that comes out to all of the leadership council members, anything we want them to pre-read before our meeting so that we're prepared for the meeting. So yes, we are in regular contact with them, and then when we're not on the phone, there's normally a lot of emails back and forth, or we use Interact a lot. We share a lot of information on Interact. We have different communities, so the Leadership Council has different communities, and a group of us were sharing different articles on things that are happening that impact societies and associations right now. So we are regularly impacting. Probably a little too much, Don, would you say that?
Well, you forgot that when you have your regular committee meetings and IG meetings and even sometimes chapter meetings, they might show up. So
That's
there's a
right.
lot of ways to interact.
That's right.
Yeah. And I can say that from personal experience, just over the last 2.5 years, whether it be leadership summits, the annual meeting, just individual IG meetings and chapter meetings and things like that, the staff as well as the leadership council members will touch base. They will come in and get involved, at least to just be a fly on the wall and see how things are playing out, and if there's any issues or anything like that, that they can help, effectively be a liaison, right? And bring that information back to the broader either staff or, the leadership council to kind of discuss that. How is that? It's interesting because you probably have a fluctuating dynamic, right? Like you have some people who come in, you have some people who leave. What is it like navigating that? I mean, understandably that, both of yourselves haven't been on the leadership council for 20 years. So, I mean, it's kind of an organic being, but is it something where there's, just kind of a life to itself and the folks come in and they just kind of plug in and add their expertise? Or is there something else? I mean, is there occasionally waves that we have to navigate that happen?
What do you think, Don? How do you want to answer that one?
that was like a Sharon was like, you speak first, Don, then I'll see what you say.
I don't want to take up all the time,
You're so eloquent, though,
I'd imagine some unique personalities come and go, don't they?
Well, it's like anything else. You have 1/3 that comes in new or 1/4, I guess, because your executive officers are there for a longer term. And then the old guys teach the young guys, or the old guys teach the new people what's going on, and you get the flavor of it and go. I mean, it's doesn't seem that difficult.
That's good.
Yeah, and we do a new leadership council member orientation, and we've continued to tweak that. When I joined leadership council, Gabby Dominguez, who's on with us now, she and I were there at the same time, and we went in person to Malvern. And since then, of course, we've gone all virtual, but we're constantly tweaking it and talking about some of the things we talked about here today, the governance versus the operation, what the purpose of the leadership council is. But we also talk about what, it has to be a win-win from a leadership council member, right? It's not all about what the leadership council member can do for membership, but also the other way around, because you want to gain growth, you want to gain experience, you want to gain knowledge. And so it really is about making it a win-win for everybody. So we talk about that. We talk about expectations from both sides. And I think that's been very helpful for new members coming in. And then we tell them, just ask questions. One of the things we've been talking about is we don't want people on the leadership council that are just going to, when things come up, go, okay, go ahead, go, right? we want to have good, healthy discussions
Yeah.
and that diversity of thought, and have people bring that to the table and bring their experience in, because the Leadership Council really needs to represent the membership.
And I think a big part of it too is being connected to the membership. Some meetings that I go to, some of the members never even seen what an LC person looks like. It's me.
Yeah.
Here I am.
So I think that helps too.
That's a good point. It's not like, it's not like an albino zebra, right? Like it's the exact, like it's us, like it's you, it's like normal people.
We're real people, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, we've been talking about, we all have liaison positions to different committees. Well, I think it's very important, if people have time, other LC members jump into a committee meeting, jump into an interest group meeting, participate and, show here we are. It's funny. Sometimes I'll sign up to go to the chapter meetings if I can, have the time in my schedule and it works. And I'll try and sit back and be a little quiet. So I've been called out on a number of occasions. Wait a minute, you can't just sit back in this meeting. We have to show who you are. It's like, darn, again, right? But I want to participate. And I know that all the leadership, yeah, exactly, Matt.
Yeah.
We all want to be part of that group. And, we aren't just regular people. We've worked hard in all aspects of what we do. And the industry and the society are important to us.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess a question that I would have is, what advice would you guys have to someone who is aspiring to be a part of Leadership Council someday in their CPCU journey?
Don, you want to start?
Sure. And I think we talked about it already. It's have a way of having a view of the entire society, whether it be, running through the board on the chapter, or being in an IG, or doing some IG work. And then, next year you go to another IG. So you meet different people, go to the convention and the leadership summit, so you can meet more people, see what the whole scope and scale of the society is like, as well as when you go to that interview, what is something special that I bring? What's the diversity of thought that I bring that makes me an advantage to being on the Leadership Council? Sharon?
Yeah, thanks, John. I mean, that really is a great segue. Some of the things we look for is adaptability, right? Because we have to adapt to a changing world. We look at leadership qualities. So as you are gaining experience, think about what what Don said, bring to the table, but more specific, what are some examples of situations that you've been able to lead the group with, and you've been able to help with change management and gain experience and that professional growth, right? So the idea here is it's almost like collecting your things for your resume, right? And just continue to look forward on how can I give back to the industry. The mentoring and mentee program, that's a big one. Working with some of the universities, we're getting a lot more requests now, because I think we're out there more from the universities to help get programs started, or at least get 1 or 2 insurance classes into these universities or schools or even community colleges. So there's a lot of those things. Get involved. Get involved in the industry, get involved in the chapters, the interest groups, talk to some of the existing Leadership Council members, talk to your chapter leaders. For one, I will tell you, I was not a chapter leader. I had different experience. I had a lot more board experience in the insurance industry, but because at the time I worked at the institutes years ago, I was involved in a lot of chapters because I was responsible to travel and do all that. So I really couldn't go up the chairs in the chapter, but I got involved in other ways. So while understanding the interest groups and the chapters is very important, and it actually is very helpful to be a chapter leader and get involved in the interest groups, there are other ways to do that. But it's all about, you can just talk to us. We're happy to share information and, help you along the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I think those are all fantastic points. And the one thing that stuck out to me from both of your answers has to do with the fact that you're not looking for cookie cutters, right? Like, you're not looking for someone who just fits inside the box. You're looking for people that are going to bring a unique perspective or experience, to the table. And to that point, like, I look at the Leadership Council just kind of, this is going to be, it is going to be a blanket statement, but it is a very diverse group of people, right? Like, the Leadership Council is not one that you would first look at. And again, appearances aren't everything. I mean, maybe everyone, does look at things exactly the same way, and I'm not seeing it based off of a picture, but
I can share that they don't. Trust me.
I'm sure the internal conversations would proof that out a lot better. But I mean, just knowing the people that I know personally that are on the Leadership Council right now, I know that you have an amazing diversity of thought that's on there. And that's really important because, the moment that you have, it doesn't matter how many people you put into the room, if they all just kind of like fall into lockstep with each other, you're going to miss something, you're going to get blindsided by something, or, what everyone thinks is a great idea ends up being, the complete opposite. So I really appreciate that. And I think that's something for most people who, if and when you watch this or listen to this, you take to heart. Like, there's no specific, set of steps to get to the Leadership Council. What are some general qualities? I'll ask you just general qualities, right? Like, if you had to, if you're sitting on the nominating or the interview committee, and you're, interviewing someone, what are some general? I know you said adaptability. Okay. In addition to that, what are other, qualities that you would look for members of the Leadership Council?
Responsible, maybe, that you make commitments and then see them through, right?
Yeah, responsible, definitely. We want people that show up, and we want people who prepare and they want to participate. Because if someone comes into a meeting and sits there, doesn't prepare, doesn't participate, it doesn't help us move this forward, right? Just bringing the, it's all about relationships, right? I don't care what anybody says. With all the technology, this industry is still a relationship industry. And so they have to be able to talk to our members. And I'm not saying you can't be an introvert. I am not saying that at all. But you have to be able to have interaction with members to gain that knowledge, to gain their thoughts on what's important to them. Right? Because we're not just there giving our opinion. While we give our opinion, we're also bringing the voice of the members to the table.
Articulate their opinions and why they need that a certain way, or need the information, and have that viewpoint.
Yeah. So what I hear you say there, Don, is you need to be a good advocate and a good ally for our membership and represent their voice. So did you just say that you're a politician? Not shaking hands and kissing babies.
I do like to get around when we have our meetings, so it is fun.
Oh, I can tell you that he might not be a politician, but Don is definitely a social butterfly. I'll tell you that.
Yes, he is.
Just ask him about what bourbon or whiskey he likes best. He will, like an hour and a half later, you're still talking about. So for anyone who doesn't know, Don is like the equivalent of what? A sommelier for Scotch, right? And
a Scotch whiskey ambassador and a bourbon steward.
If you need recommendations, if you need, so two things. If you have feedback that you would like to give to the Leadership Council, send it to Don George. And if you need a recommendation for a brown spirit to drink, also ask Don George. He
I'll
will
be
take
talking
care
to
of
you, Don.
Yeah. In fact, Don, was it you who led the Scotch and whiskey tasting and bourbon tasting for the New York chapter?
Yeah, I did it for the New York chapter, and then the 3IG. We actually had 2 sessions, one for overseas and one for here in the same day. So,
Yeah.
That's a tough day, Don.
So now I know why Don got recruited to the LC.
diversity of thought, right?
There you go.
One of the things I'd like to just make a plug for are the chapters, right?
Yep.
I mean, you all are very active in your chapters. Some of us are not as involved pre-COVID because, my chapter is several hours away, right? And so I try and keep in touch, but sometimes it'll take me a whole day just to go to a luncheon meeting. But again, our chapters are critical. Our chapters are critical to the success of our candidates, to our new designees, and any chapter member. I think one of the positives that's come out of this last year is the fact that people can join any chapter meeting, any I-Day across the country. And I am so appreciative of that because people are getting out there. I do want to say, reach out to your local chapter. You can become a member as a candidate, and that's with 2 parts of CPCU completed. But I also want to say that we're in the process of transitioning. So if you are an industry member and you are not a CPCU, that does not mean that you cannot attend a chapter event. You will, in the near future, be able to actually join the society as an industry professional. And I want to make that point because what we've looked at is the journey, right? We're all here to support the journey to CPCU. And there is a lot of value from the chapters to reach out, to participate with the chapters, get to know the members of your chapter or any of the chapters, and join and see what's happening across the country. And Don, I know Don does more from an international. I'm disappointed this year because there are some international meetings that I know I'm going to have a conversation tomorrow, but the concern is the uptick in COVID and the fact that I probably will not be able to attend some of those, but we're going to kind of monitor that. But, the international chapters are excellent, and they do have functions during the year as well. And we have opportunities to join that as well. So, I'm making a shameless plug, but I really think that that's an important part of who we are as a society.
Yeah. And I would say, just tag on that to say, Sharon, that the connectivity in between chapters now is so different than it used to be. And it's really the virtual environment that has opened that up. Chapters, have been able to open their events to chapters who may not have had to be they may not have the resources to be able to host as many events. And it's super exciting. I mean, I know New Jersey developed the calendar where everybody can put all their chapter events and everything. And the Interact community brings in a whole other host of people into these chapter events. And I mean, there's some chapters out there that are hosting some fantastic speakers Absolutely. That are on the cutting edge of what is happening in our industry. So if you haven't taken the opportunity to be on Interact, to check out that shared calendar that's out there, do that, because you're really missing out on literally every single emerging issue that's coming in our industry is being talked about by a chapter at some point. And I got to sit through like was it California and Hawaii, I think, did their I-Day together. And I got to sit through that, and at least parts of it that I could catch. And just the ability to be able to open that up and the connectivity that we have now is incredible.
Yeah, no, I think the other thing to hit on here before the end is that this is a decentralized organization, meaning that we have a ton of chapters that are spread across a very wide geographic area. There are certain things that are somewhat standardized, in terms of like paperwork and certain reporting and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, most chapters operate fairly autonomously, with some specific things that bind them together. And so there is a gigantic diversity of just a diversity of thought, a diversity of opinion, a diversity of, desires on the part of, the local insurance professionals in the areas of those chapters and what they're looking to get out of the chapter versus the broader society. So the Leadership Council, I would imagine, has to balance all of that in how you all are looking at the future and what that looks like, and having to include some level of adaptability and maybe even a little bit of redundancy and things like that in the system because of just how diverse this is. Not to mention the fact that I don't bring this up enough. Like, I'm a broker, okay? Heather comes from claims and change management, and now she's in underwriting. And for a hot second, she was working alongside actuaries, right? Like, we have attorneys, we have we have IT people, we have risk managers. It's not even hurting cats. It's hurting cats and dogs and small lizards and chickens and all kinds of other stuff, right? So you all have a not an impossible task, but I mean, you climb Everest every single year. So I think a lot needs to be said in terms of thanking the people at the Leadership Council for what you all do and the time you put in and everything that you have to kind of take into account and really kind of, balance. It's like, King Solomon, like how do you cut the baby? Like, I don't know. Like, we have to figure out a way to make this work, But so any parting thoughts? I'll give, Sharon, I'll give you first word. Don, I'll give you last word. Any parting thoughts? Anything else you would like to give folks an idea of, what's behind the curtain, if there is anything behind the curtain that they might not know about the LC?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to you all, because all of what you do to support the CPCU Society and its members, you guys go above and beyond. So I want to say thank you for that. We greatly appreciate all that you do, because I know that you're working with some of the chapters as well to help them move their virtual meetings forward and do some of those training sessions. My thought is if you're passionate about this industry, if you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to help move not just the society forward, but bring in the young folks, right? Bring in folks that are going to be our future and help move the society and the industry forward. There's an opportunity here. It's not just one opportunity. There are so many opportunities in the chapters, speaker opportunities, their Leadership Council, the interest groups. So if you haven't found the opportunity that fits you, talk to some of us. We can help you, point you in the right direction. Try different opportunities to help with your growth, because you are our future. And I greatly appreciate all of our volunteers. And one of the nice things is we now have some micro volunteer opportunities, so you don't have to commit for a long period of time. So watch for those opportunities. Be part of Interact. We want to help you succeed because you are the future. And I just want to say thank you for those who are members of the society. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. This is important to me. And every single member is very appreciated and valued. And I want you to know that and say thank you.
Awesome. What are your thoughts, Don?
It's like following Trump or something.
Oh, now wait a minute. I'm not sure how I should take that, Don.
In a good sense. No, everything you said is absolutely true, and I think there's a lot of people out there who think that because of distance, or they're in a very rural area, like I know someone in upstate Pennsylvania that doesn't really feel connected, but I'm like, we want to hear you, want to hear everybody, so don't ever think that, and really reach out, like Sharon said.
Awesome. Final thoughts, Heather?
Oh, I would just say thank you both. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your willingness to, kind of peek back behind the curtain that people a lot of times don't understand what exactly is this thing called Leadership Council, and just helping everyone to see that Leadership Council isn't the only way that you can volunteer with the society. There are so many opportunities, and once again, cheapest leadership development that you will ever get in your entire career. So think about it from that perspective and consider that investment. Dip your toe in the water somewhere, jump on a committee, put your voice in the room, because your voice is needed for our industry for tomorrow, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. You're not going to get, this is to any individual or any hiring manager or hopefully we get some C-suites that listen to this, okay? The dollars that you put into this for yourself or your team will come back to you tenfold at least. Because I can tell you that the people that I've met, the people I've mentored, myself, I would not be sitting here without this group of people here, as well as the hundreds and thousands of other people that are involved in the society. And another point is, I think we've shown that the LC members are not, untouchables. They are you and me, right? Like they are, they're normal people. They just care. Like they give a crap, and they work really hard, and they give back, and they try and help. And I've always gotten that sense, regardless of what feedback others or even myself may have given in certain processes. The members of the LC, they're not there for the benefit plan. They get no benefit plan. Okay,
no, this is all volunteer.
Yeah, it is. Like the only thing like the reason why I use crazy, like the only thing crazier than wanting to be like a senior member of a chapter is wanting to be a senior member of like legit like 1,000 times larger chapter. Like it's just you're not doing it for anything other than the love of the game, so to speak. So just remember that. Mike K throwing in a plug for the interest group roadshow. So I'm sure they'll have more of those coming up in the future. So definitely check those out. I want to say thank you both. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're both extremely busy. And look, if anyone who watched live or you watch the recorded version, if you need information, you need somewhere where you don't know where you fit, if you need to find an opportunity, let us know, reach out. We will do more than we will try and move heaven and earth to find you a place where you fit in this society. Almost guaranteed there's something you don't know about that you'll probably fit into, and we'll be happy to do it, and it won't be like pulling teeth. So just remember that, and please reach out to us and be communicative. So with that, next 2 weeks we have IGs. We have the LME and PERG joined together. They are now I forget the name of it, but it's basically like the professionals and leadership, managers group, right? Like the folks that want to sit there and sip coffee while they tell everyone else what to do. No, I'm kidding. So we have the LME and the PERG people, and then we have IT, which look now. Yes. Which, by the way, now the world is more technologically based. We have a ton of technology in the insurance industry, so we get to talk to those folks as well. So it's going to be an awesome next couple of weeks. Sharon, thank you very much. Don, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Heather, as usual, you're a rock star. I'm glad we're back. We're back in the saddle. So with that, we will see you next week, Wednesday, 5:30 p.m., 4:30 Central. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Thanks.